Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Bricks King podcast, where I'm going to bend your ear about Lego, review those amazing bricks of plastic, and discuss what is new and up and coming around the Lego world. I'm your minifig host, Matt. Let's build on it. Welcome in, everybody. How are we doing today? Hopefully you are doing well. It's been a tiny bit of a hiatus. Part of that reason is, man, I've been fighting these allergies and all that garbage and gunk that comes with it, you know. This is my bad time of the year. I hate it. I'm good the rest of the year. It's April and May. They just kick me in the face and stomp on my throat. It's just really bad. Anyway, last part of last week, I had lost some of my voice and it wasn't pretty. I was like, okay, I got to record. I got some content ready to go, and it just wasn't flying. Anyway, so today we are talking about Monkie Kid. There are 4 sets that are in the summer wave. I was fortunate enough, thanks to Lego, to be able to get them ahead of time. We've got a bunch of other stuff coming as well, and we'll chat about that at the end here. However, we're going to hit on 3 of them today, and then we're going to talk about the big one on the next episode, butting up to this, just because it is way too big to fit in here. It's probably going to be a 40-minute show of itself. Honestly, it's just incredibly massive, but it is gorgeous. Every single one of these sets are really neat, but all of them will be coming available on the 1st of June. So let's go ahead and get to the first goodie here today. This one is Monkie Kid's Cloud Airship, which is kind of funky. We'll talk about it here in a little bit. 80046. This thing has 540 pieces, and it retails for about $50 and about roughly 50 euros. It's actually 48 euros that you're going to have to spend on this thing. Now, we do have some characters that are repeats that we have seen in the last wave earlier in the year. So I believe that was back in December when we did that, or January. However, you have some repeat characters, and of course you always have Monkie Kid. Now, the interesting thing about this airship is it is an airship. It's got this big kind of balloon-esque, hot air balloon kind of style, top to it, and then the carriage down below. But the idea of the big set being an underwater build, like an underwater theme, having this like fly, but then kind of having skids on it, like it's supposed to go on snow. Or, I don't know. It's a weird kind of idea that's going on here, but I do appreciate what is going on. It is kind of 2 builds in one, honestly. But they don't come apart. Like you can't just go bloop, that's apart. It doesn't work like that. So let's go ahead and talk about the main build here. On the very top, you have, like I said, you've got your big balloon that is up here. It's hollow on the inside. They use a lot of slopes here, bunch of stickers all over this thing. But the interesting thing is the wings can rotate forward, backward. There's some propellers here. You have some cloud exhaust that is coming out of the rear of them. You also have some exhaust ports along the rear on the sides, which use that minifig stand piece, that superhero stand piece. With some Technic pieces attached there to give you a different, feel and vibe and look, and just really all the goodies and everything. I just popped something off, which was really weird. Just the way I was holding it. But you have a little lantern piece that is back here. It's just on a little ball joint. I guess you could use it like a rudder. No, it's just for decoration, but it is pretty neat. It is loose enough that when you tilt this thing, it does rotate with it. Then you have this big old 3-winged propeller or rear wing, whatever you want to call it here, that goes, that's in the back. It's in that teal color, which is really, really nice. Some Technic pieces that are back here. So I do like that. On the top of this thing, this is where you have your Sandy cat, the character Sandy, the big blue cat. This is just a baby kitty that you have going on here. And there's just a tile shooter that is up here, but it's really nice. It spins 360 degrees around, but it also moves forward and backwards. For your cat or your minifig, you can put it either facing front or facing to the rear. There's actually 2 different spots that you can stand your cat, which is nice. I don't know a ton of legend of Monkey Kid, but it's pretty cool. So then we move just slightly down below here, and we have this little piece that sticks out the side. By the way, the airship, the big bubble up top, and then the little kind of vehicle that's attached below, you've got ugly Technic bricks that are attaching all this. So, if you don't like holes in things, you're not going to like that so much. But there's an arm that sticks out to the driver's side, the left side. I shouldn't say driver's side because it's different everywhere around the world. It sticks out the left side, and it's got a chain, a little winch that you can lift up and down. There's a little bucket in there. So you can, maybe you're going shopping at the grocery store and you're like, you know what? I want to stop off here, but I'm going to let this thing float and I'm going to go get my stuff down here. I know, just being silly, but you do have that there. So as we talk about the main central part of the vehicle here, it does have the 4 skids that are on it. They are all movable. They, just rotate so that you can forward and backward just to be able to give it that look and stuff like that when you're flying or whatnot. But it's an open canopy, cockpit, fuselage, whatever you want to call it here. It's almost as if you were to put wheels on this thing. It would feel like a Lego City vehicle. Like, it's not very big. So he has his little, it's a boomerang piece, but it is just supposed to be his yoke that he's using to fly. He's got a windshield and stuff. You got some little clear lights that are in the front. You got some mirrors and stuff, some teal on the interior. There is a 1x1 round tile that has kind of like the speedometer printing on it, tachometer. And that's pretty much it for that. As we move back the sides, we have some grill pieces that are on the sides. Some Nexonite shields. Yeah, buddy. Some more stickers. Then as we get towards the rear, there's really nothing here. Now, something that I have complained about endlessly so often was with weapons. There's never a place to store weapons. Why can't we have a place? I can't have them in their hand when they're in the cockpit and stuff. They have 2 clips here that allow you to carry his little golden weapon and then his little his bar that he uses, those little bow staff that he has. So that is really nice to be able to get those things to be able to stick your weapons in there and not have to be like, oh, I'm going to move these over here and we'll play with them later. And you end up losing them or whatnot. You don't have that issue here, which is great. So some of the other little things that come with it here, you have a little point shooter here of your little, it's a little blaster that they have. It's got 2 wheels. Think of it almost as like a tripod type thing that they used to use way back in the wars with the cannons, the wheels on the side, and then it just kind of sat in the background. Almost, you could think of it as modern day artillery as well. It is just a stud shooter that they have here. But it's gold wheels. It's pretty nice. I like the way that is done. Then we have this little flyer that is for Sandy, and Sandy's flyer is actually pretty sharp looking. You got some really rad looking wings with some propellers that are here, so that's pretty neat. Some lights in the front, or in the back, excuse me. And he has a printed 1x2 slope here, so that is nice, showing him driving, that kind of stuff. But he is actually in minifigure form, and we'll talk about that here in a moment. You have stud shooters that are on the side. They are shooting red studs here, which is I like it. I really like it. The cool thing about it is you can either keep them close, like after you build this, they are on clips so that they can either be moved out, they can move in closer to the line of the body. It's really up to you. But it is a nice little thing to be able to play with. Definitely swooshable. Definitely something that kids are going to have a lot of fun with. But something like this, you're like, yeah, I almost kind of wish I had that as my bad guy vehicle. So let's move on to minifigs quickly. So we get our Monkey Kid. He's in his standard garb that we have seen, at least for this season, but fairly standard garb. He's got the dual molded legs. Printing is good again. His hair, standard, kind of piece going on here with his little headband that goes across the molded head, or the molded hair, not head. And then his 2 faces, he has an angry normal face, and then he has the red across the eyes face as well, where it's kind of like this weird kind of smile that's going on. Then we move on to Sandy, and Sandy is in this humanoid minifig form. He does have the beard, does have the mohawk. Has some shoulder pauldrons here. Really, really sharp printing on his chest. I really like the way that is done. It's in that kind of, well, the actual torso is that metallic gray, which is really sharp with the white pants, but good printing all around. The only thing that I had a problem with this minifig was his hairpiece. So it is that standard mohawk piece, but the problem I was having is there's not a whole lot of clutch power to it. And when I was sticking this on, it was constantly just, I would move the minifig and it would pop off. So I don't know if over time it'll loosen up there and, or whatever. It's not that it's loose, it's that it's too tight. It's where the anti-stud meets essentially where the stud is. The prong that sticks out from the inside of the hair that goes into that hole, it just doesn't, it's almost too big. It's almost like it needs a fraction of a hair shaved off of it to just have it fit more solidly. But that's just a little production thing, not the end of the world. So then we move on to a new character here. It's an Ink Warrior. They are in the all black with some purple hands. He's got this shaved side of his head with the ponytail that is hanging out from the back. I think of it like a Viking type haircut. He's got this little blade that he's carrying around. Real simple. Printing is okay. It doesn't look the best on the black. The purple kind of gets lost, but there's some gold printing as well. It is on the front and the back, but the legs are not printed. Now, these guys remind me of, I believe it was from, I think it was a Marvel line, and I can't remember what it was, but these guys almost seem like a repeat from another line, but it's not horrible. So now we move on to the golden winged eagle. He's got that beak piece and the big wings. I'm really surprised that these weren't more flexible, like rubbery, the wings on the back. That would have been nice. And then he's got this weird, what looks like a shrimp tail hairpiece that is sticking out the top of his head. It's fine, but I like his printing, standard of what we have seen before, but he's got that really like that light colored, like a light aqua. It's a really, really sharp color, and he comes with his little spear weapon that has a like a little tooth sticking off of it. So it's a pretty cool set. Price point, I think, is okay. Maybe a little bit more could have gone into it, but again, we're talking about big chunky pieces that are used to make the top part of the airship. So let's move on to the next one. This is Maze Guardian Dragon 80047. It has 605 pieces. Retails for a big fat whopping $75. Good God. And 53 euros. Yeah, that is, that's got to be incorrect. There's no way. It's got to be 72 euros or 73 euros. There's no way that's right. I'm going to have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure this is probably 73 euros and $75. Anyway, so moving along, let's go ahead and talk about this thing. Alrighty, so we have seen a ton of dragons in Monkey Kid, especially in Ninjago, but dragons are not anything super duper new. You know, they are just commonplace in a lot of waves, a lot of themes. And if I'm not mistaken, Dreams even has one coming out. So this thing, when you first look at it, you're like, holy crap, the color. It fits May's color scheme perfectly. You have the teal, you have the lime green, you have gold, and you have white. Main focal points here. The other thing is it's got a real slender body with a really unique design to it that actually makes you want to pick it up and grab it. And guess what? It is one of those sets that you can grab right in the middle and you can fly this dragon all over the place. And the best thing about it is all the sections in the tail move. So when you are flying this puppy around, as a kid or as a grown adult, because you want to have fun too, it just follows you and the tail whips around. It's great. So let's go ahead and start with the head because the head has a lot of detail to it. It is on a ball joint. It's on a small ball joint, by the way, not a big ball joint. So there is some softer movement to it. It's an all white head, except for the feathers that are sticking out the rear, which have lime green on top of teal. We have some Nexonite shields. Again, those have stickers on in the rear, all those feathers. Some golden feathers sticking up above the eyes with some horns above the eyes as well. It's pretty nice. Stickers just behind the cheeks. And then the eyes are a 1x2 tile that is rounded on the ends that is printed. So you have the printed eyes and kind of some gold mechanical looking stuff that's going on there. Really looks really sharp in the way that that is done. Then we have some lasso whip pieces here that are used to be kind of like the whiskers of the beast. Really nicely done. And then you open the mouth and you have magenta on the inside. You get a couple big thick teeth here on the side, which is nice as well. So as you make your way down the neck, you have that gorgeous curvature that is going on. You have two different curves going against each other here in that teal color with some wheel well pieces is what they use for the initial part of it. On the back side of it, you have this interesting design to put a bunch of white chunky slopes on the back side, which just makes it feel thicker. It just gives it a different appearance. Now, the crappy thing about it is the entire neck, aside from where the head is attached, the neck from that attachment at the head the whole way to the chest, you cannot move it because it is Technic pinned in. So unfortunately, there's no ability to move that around and play with that. As we come further down, there is this interesting fire orange, fire yellow color here, and it's just on a slope, but it's got a a sticker that is on here. And then we continue down through the teal underneath. Good texturing here with some more slope type pieces. Just really good stuff in the way that it is done. Then we move to the legs. The inner part of the legs along the body has big chunky gold pieces to make that big old circle. And we have click joints here. We have some big ones. You can click it forward, backwards, splay it outwards, splay it inward. Some really nice stuff there. So you also have the foot joint as well. You've got three claws that are on the foot there. The interesting choice of piece here, though, is the plant piece. I believe we first saw this in Mario. It's a big, fat, old plant piece, and it has 4 studs on it, and then it has 4 anti-studs on the bottom of it. There are 2 of them stacked here in the line of the foot. I guess if you're going to say it's almost like at a knee joint. So it's kind of unique in its own right. Then on the very outside of where this shoulder joint, leg joint is, you have this really sharp looking shooter. It's just another tile, stud shooter, whatever you want to call it. Use some gold pieces here. And then we've got these golden flames and cloud pieces that are here. But we have one of those big knives, big sword type pieces that we have seen so often with Monkey Kid. We've seen it more recently in Ninjago as well. All kinds of different colors at this point, but this is in that gold color, which is really nice. So you have those 2 shooters on each side. They go in and out. They can rotate up and down, forward and backward just ever so slightly, but they're locked into place essentially by some other Lego pieces, other bricks and such. So as we come back the ridge line of the body, there is a seat here for your minifig to sit, 2 little studs to hold him or her on. Since this is May's dragon, you would assume May would be the person, but maybe Monkey Kid's like, nah, I got this. Anyway, so the seat is collapsible. You can close the seat up or you can sit it upright. It's a nice choice. If you just want to use the dragon, you don't have to have that there. Now, as we step down towards the butt of this thing, they use some really interesting ideas of slopes. We have some there's teal underneath it, but we have some neon green that have that it's a slope, but it comes to like a point on each side. And then they also use I don't even know what you want to call this. It's a 1x2 by 1x2. I don't know. It looks like an L, right? It looks just like a little L, and it's a tile. And they have that on the side, so you get an idea. It looks like an arrow when you have them lined up like this and they're pointing. And then they use some of those same tile pieces that they used in the lime green, but instead of it coming to a point, it's straight across. They use that in white. A lot of texture right there. And then you have the gold slopes on the back. Just a lot of texturing that really works. A lot of pop of color. And then you leave that and you have this little small depression, which is a nice little curve yet again. And then you get to the tail. Now, before we get to the tail, we need to talk about the legs. The legs are I mean, the legs are legs. They look just like the front legs, except there are no green plant pieces that are utilized here. Click joints again, same idea. Same with the ankles. The ankles are on a ball joint, and then the toes flex as well. On the tail, we get that same color, same idea, same exact idea that they did on the chest with the white and then the teal underneath. Tons of stickers down this tail, by the way, just crazy amounts of them. But the cool thing is we have, if you consider the tail section, it is attached to the butt. And then the other pieces, you have two other little sections that are in place here that can rotate back and forth. And then you have one of those trans lime green giant sword pieces that we talked about in gold that gives you that whip function and stuff. It really looks nice when you get to play with it. That thing can really whip around. So it's a really sharp looking dragon, different. The aesthetic is really cool looking. It's the color palette for May. You know, I've always loved hers. I think that it's a great mishmash of colors, and it just works really well overall. Alrighty, so we have no Monkey Kid in this set, but we have May Power Up, we have Mr. Tang Power Up, and we have two others. We have the Ink General, which is kind of neat, and then we have the Yellow Tusk Elephant, which we have seen before. So May Power Up is kind of in a similar garb that she has been in before. She has the same exact suit, same exact print as our Sandy does. The only difference is essentially the colors. His has kind of that orange like his beard. Hers has green, and then Mr. Tang has like a dark red. However, both of these things are printed identically. Legs are duplicates. They come with shoulder pauldrons. May has two faces. She has an angry face and a happy face. It so much reminds me of Nia. She comes with a golden sword. Again, shoulder pauldrons. Mr. Tang has one face where his eyes are closed, and I actually like this face where he's kind of almost like, like you can picture that. And then he's got his other one with kind of like a frown and his glasses. He comes with this little staff, and it comes with one of the golden pieces that comes in a bag for these sets. Next up, we have our Ink General. He's got the ghost legs, you know, the dual molded. This one's in the black and the trans clear. He does have these he has a sword. His printing is, if I'm not mistaken, it is the same as the other. Yeah, it's the same as the other Ink Warrior that we just talked about. His hairpiece sticks up, hangs out the top. It's got a little yellow stud attached to his head. I wish they wouldn't do yellow. I wish they could find another way to use a different piece for this. It just seems too bulky. It's too ugly. He comes with black shoulder pauldrons, though. But he has one of those kind of like Spider-Man web shooter pieces. You actually get two of them. You can put one in one hand, or you can put them in both hands, you know, put his sword down. But it's a nice character to get. And then we get our Elephant Tusk Man guy. And again, nice idea behind this. Purple pauldrons on his shoulders. Nice teal legs that are printed in the gold. Same as on the chest. On the rear, we have some purple and some teal. And he's got his maracas of doom. I like these. These are pretty neat. He does only come with a single print, of course, for his face. He's got that Viking hairpiece as well. And then he's got his dual... Is this dual molded? I think this is painted, actually. But he's got his big tusks with his elephant trunk and the big old floppy ears. So a really neat set. You know, the minifigs are okay. It's not anything that, you know, I'd write home about. But, you know, to be able to get powered up characters, I think is a new way of collecting minifigs. And if you're somebody that's like, you know what, I'm going to collect the whole wave, well, then collect the whole wave. But I like the dragon. I think it's probably a little overpriced, in my opinion. There are a lot of pieces, but there just doesn't seem like enough here to really warrant that heavy of a price point. There are definitely things that can cost way less than what this is, that you get of similar size. The value just doesn't seem to be there as much for me. But overall, I really like the way it looks. The aesthetic is incredible. All right, before we move on to the next build, we've got to take a quick break because we are up against it. So hang on, we'll be back in a minute. So on to the last one that we're going to talk about today is the Mighty Azure Lion. It is 80048. It has 789 pieces. It retails for $80 US and 75 euros. See what I'm saying? You're getting 174 plus pieces here compared to the last one, and the price is only slightly different. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about this. Alrighty. So you already know what I'm going to say. You already know what I'm going to say before we kick off into this. So this is a mech style build. It's not a mech because there's no, minifig or humanoid or anything like that driving this thing. But it's in the same idea, same vein, same build, similar build, I should say, as a mech would be. So you already know. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. It is cool though. We've not seen a character like this in I don't even know how long. It's a very ferocious looking character. It's very intimidating from its build on the outside. It's colorful. It's actually pretty large, not tall wise. It just feels large based on how everything is kind of put together with the thick shoulders and the thick thighs and then the big feet and then the big clawed hands, the giant head, the swept back feathering pieces that are up here. A lot of really cool stuff to like about it and size overall. So let's go ahead and talk about his head because his head is very unique. It's unlike anything that I have ever seen. We have some dragon beak type pieces that they use here. There are 3 of them. You have 1 out the top and 2 out the sides. Well, 1 out of each side. And they are just supposed to splay out and make him look creepy, crazy. I don't know, whatever you want to call him. But man, it looks sharp as can be. I'm a big fan of how this is done. It does have a giant ball joint that it is sitting on. The head does rotate left and right, but you have to be careful because of those feathered pieces. But it does go up and down. You just have to swing those in. It has some pretty good movement up, not so much down because it's blocked by the chest. However, we do get a new print here for the eyes. It is a 1x1 black tile. It has some teal eyelids and magenta eyes. There's even some purple in there as well. Really nice. On his nose, his nostrils are actually made of gold hearts, which is kind of unique. He's got some teeth. Well, of course he has teeth. He has little teeth that are in the front. He's got 2 big fangs on the top, and then he's got 2 smaller fangs on the bottom. This jaw on the bottom actually opens at a 90-degree angle compared to the top of the mouth, which is nice. You can really get him into that giant snarling position if you so choose. Or maybe you want to shove a minifig in his mouth and he's going to eat it. However, I really like the way that is done. So let's talk about the chest a little bit. The chest has some big chunky pieces that are going on in here, kind of hiding some of the nastiness underneath, which is always a good thing. All tealed chest, all stickers, of course, on the rest of the set, not anything else that is printed, unfortunately, but I get it. As you move down to his torso, lower into his torso, I guess you could say, here we're seeing some more of those sloped pieces to be able to get that kind of texture, that style. It almost looks like he's got wide abs, which is kind of unique. Wide, well-toned abs. We all have abdominal muscles. So, but what they have down here below, there's some Nexonite shields in purple. There's some other pieces that go around the side, around his waist. It looks like a belt. And then they have a gold ingot piece that is in the center of that looks like a belt buckle almost. So let's go back up to the arms here. So just above the shoulders, above that big fat chest that he's got, they have these pauldrons that are essentially flipped upside down. What do you want to call them? Wheel well pieces that they use on like ATV builds and stuff like that. It is ball jointed in, but this thing can rotate forward and backward. It can go up and down. And then you also have gold feet here that are used essentially just to look like spikes, gold claws that are here. And it's the same on each side. You can move this around quite a bit. This is what ends up being hit when you try to move the head around with those giant flamey beak pieces that are on the side of the head. So you just have to kind of maneuver things around a little bit. But His shoulders are really well built, really thick, rotate around really well. Can only go so far forward, can only go so far backward, but they can splay out a full 90 degrees, which is really sharp in the way that they chose to go ahead and do that. It can get you into some really large looking space-eating poses, which is really, really nice. And as we move down to the elbow joint here, it does click around. You can't go obviously 360 degrees, but you can go in a circle to a certain point and then it clicks up at the elbow. Now they do have a locking piece that comes into play here. It is a hitch piece. It is on the 2x2 plate that has the little bar and then the ball. That helps keep your elbow from going backwards. And that's a good thing. You definitely don't want that to happen. That would hurt very bad. So that we have that here. Then as we move past the elbow, you get into big fat forearm. We got some black. We got some flamish orange yellow here that's going on. Then we have 3 big fingers and 1 big thumb. The only thing that I'm not a giant fan of is the way the thumb is done. The thumb can rotate either up or inward, outward, or up and down. You can rotate it on the bar. It's okay. It just doesn't hold the weapon very well. Nothing really does. The hands in general don't really hold the weapon that well, but it can be pinned in so that you can use it that way. But again, it isn't the best way that it is done, unfortunately, in my opinion. On the other side, you have another spot where you can carry a weapon. There is another weapon that is on his back, which we will talk about. But he has this big old sword that he's got going. The hilt is actually nicely built. It's just some Technic pieces, but it's nicely done. And then we have the big gold blade, as we have talked about earlier. Moving down to the legs, your hip joints. They can rotate in and out, forward and back. You can get him. I can actually get him into like a running pose, which is nice. He's got really good balance in this. The design team has really done a great job being able to put this in all kinds of different positions to be able to play or display. Now we have giant shoulder pauldron pieces that are in black. We originally saw these in Ninjago a few years ago, but we have those on the outside. They're ridged, so it actually gives a nice little bit of texture. Your knees, let me guess. Can you guess? Yes, your knees are locked, unfortunately. As we get down below, we have some more teal slopes and big old Nexonite pieces, Nexonite shields here. As we get down to the ankle joint, it can go inward and outward. There is no movement forward and backward. There is a clear, concise reason for that, as y'all know by now. If you don't, it is so your mech does not fall over, or in this case, your dragon, or not your dragon, your lion. He's got the same big fat claws for feet, for toes, as he does for the hands, so that is identical. They're just slightly smaller. But his foot is absolutely huge. It is so long. For a mech just this size, the foot is really, really long. Now they do use 2 rubber pieces, one on each side, on the heel, on the underside of the foot, to be able to help it get traction. I really wish they would have put another in here. I'm assuming they didn't. They did some kind of balance test or something and it didn't quite work. On the very rear of this, you've got some nakedness. You see some really ugly plates on the back side. His butt's sticking out. It doesn't look pretty. But he does have this nice tail. It does have function. It can go up and down. It can rotate. It's on a click joint. And then it's got a golden lacquered egg for the tip of the tail, which is kind of cool. So the weapon that he has on his back is very unique. They actually use garage door pieces wrapped around here to get the idea behind it. It's very bizarre. I've never seen this kind of piece used in this way to be able to accomplish anything like this. It is the very first time I've seen anything of the sort. Which, honestly, to me, I was like, wait, we're doing what? How did we do this? But they accomplish it. But here's the really cool thing. It is a stud shooter. So on one end of this, it's solid. On the other end, it has a 6 stud shooter, not ratchet gun, whatever. the quick shooter here, where you just rotate it around and it shoots them all off. You can put this in his hand because it does have a Technic hole in it for that Technic pin, or it has a Technic pin on the back that you can just put it and let it go until you actually need it for battle or combat. It's a really long part, but it is really sharp in the way that it is done. So that is your mech lion guy. Let's go ahead and talk minifigs real quick. So we have the Monkey of Kids here. So Monkey Kid, of course, is super duper important. Monkey Kid comes in a different form. His body is the same here. His torso is the same, but he comes with a black tail, and he comes with his hair is the same. He comes with a staff, but his face is different. He's got the orange eyes that are golden glossed over. So that's kind of unique. And then he just has his angry face on the other side. Pigsy's a little unique guy here. He is in his powered up suit garb as well. Same printing, except his detail is red. Shoulder pauldrons, Pigsy head and everything. The only difference is his legs are not printed because they are mini legs. He does come with a weapon. It does have a golden rake. It's one of the many pieces that come in the bags. Then we have the Ink Demon. The Ink Demon is a smaller dude here. And your Ink Demon is a same print as the others, has that Spider-Man type web blaster piece, has a little sword, has the Viking hair. Then we have the Azure Lion. Just like the big lion, we have the little lion minifig guy. He comes with a really built up sword with like a scarab end of it, and then an actual flame on the bottom of it, which is kind of like a tassel. It's a black flame piece that they use here. He's got this spiky shoulder pauldrons. His hair, super kind of formal, long locks that are coming down on each side and in front of his shoulders, down his chest. Nice little wavy kind of hair that is going on, blowing down in the back. He comes with a black cape that is got some cut on the sides of it to give it that feathered look. It's purple on the inside and black on the outside. He has two different faces. He has one where he's kind of like, hee, and then the other one where he just seems kind of almost irritated, not perplexed. Like he's still a bad guy, but he almost comes across like he's just kind of irritated. Anyway, the last minifig that we have is the Monkey King. Monkey King is flying around on his brick-built cloud, which is pretty sharp. He comes with a giant bow staff that is here. Again, using some of those elements that come in that bag here on the ends. His garb is pretty nice. His little suit type thing that he's wearing. He does have a tail in that nougat color, but his printing is nice. He's wearing his tattered, I can't, it's almost like, I think, is it like a gi that he's wearing? Comes with a standard monkey hair for Monkey Kid ancestors. And he's got one face where he's crying and another face where his eyes are glossed over and he's half smiling like he's ready to mess some stuff up. So the mech, I keep saying mech because it looks like a mech. The lion, I love the build of the lion. I think it is really well done. It is definitely something that you can play with. You can grab it at the waist. You can jump this thing around like a big action figure or something. A lot to love here. Color, design, the head alone just sells it so much. If you're not a Monkey Kid fan, maybe this isn't for you. Again, I don't know a whole lot about Monkey Kid, but I love some of the things that they do as far as the product line goes. Really, really fascinating in how this thing turned out. When I saw the images initially, I was like, oh my God, I can't. Oh, this is so cool. I got to have one. Now I have one. Thank you so much, Lego, for sending these over ahead of time before they're available on June 1st. So just remember, they are available June 1st. So far, I'm really impressed with the wave. I think everything is turning out pretty good. The pricing for the dragon, definitely not where I would like it to be. The little balloon, flying balloon that we talked about in the very first is not bad. It's a pretty nice set, a little bit more expensive than I think it really needs to be, but hey, there's always going to be that. So the next episode that we have coming up, we are going to talk about the Dragon of the East Palace. thing is huge. The build techniques in there are incredible. I stopped so many times listening to myself say, oh my God, that is so cool. I can't believe they did this. How did they accomplish this? How did they even think about that? Some really cool building ideas behind it. Of course, it's not the cheapest set, but there's a lot to it. And we'll talk about that on the next episode. So after that, we do have all the new Ninjago stuff to get to. We have Ninjago City markets to get to. We have Pac-Man. As you have no doubt heard already, Pac-Man, the new icon set that is going to be coming out. We have some Disney things to discuss as well. We have all of the city stuff to discuss as well. So I am burning my fingertips to the bone in the last week. And even as soon as I'm done here, we go back to building. And it's just what it's going to be next week, actually this weekend and part of next week. If you have followed me on twitch.tv/The Bricks King podcast, I believe is what it is, we will be building over there some of the other things as much as we can just to get things, done and built and discussed so that you guys that are listening here have an opportunity to be like, hey, you know what? Do I want to throw my money at this or not? Because all of these things are summer waves. They are June 1st things that are going to be coming your way. So that's going to wrap up this episode. This is why I told you we weren't going to do the big one, because we are already deep into this show. So until we meet again, I'm your minifig host, Matt. Let's build on it.